Okay, so I want you to picture this setting for a really high-stakes psychological drama.
All right, I'm with you.
We're talking a story that just ruthlessly dissects, the darkest parts of modern dating, the crippling anxiety of waiting for a text back, that whole desperate search for identity.
Sure, so you're thinking gritty high school hallways, a rainy street corner, maybe a dimly lit bar. The usual suspects for emotional turmoil.
Exactly. Well, what if I told you the entire battlefield for this psychological warfare is a pastel-colored nail salon in the middle of Bangkok?
I'd say that sounds like a very specific and, frankly, a very risky creative choice.
It is, but man, did it pay off. We are diving deep into Gelboys, or Sthana Kak if we're using the native Thai title. This series aired in early 2025, and it didn't just participate in the BL that's boys love genre.
Yeah.
It completely deconstructed it.
It really did, and I think the mistake people make is looking at the promotional material, which is, all bright colors and pop music and cute boys getting manicures, and they just assume it's fluff.
It is absolutely not fluff.
Not at all. And our mission today is to unpack how this show is a love letter to Gen Z, sure, but more importantly, how it functions as this brutal case study on situationships, on attachment theory, and why modern tech might actually be ruining our ability to connect.
Yeah, we've got a massive stack of sources today, comprehensive breakdowns of all 7 episodes, psychological character profiles, and some really interesting critical reviews. We are going to figure out how a show about gel polish became maybe the most realistic depiction of dating hell I've seen in years.
It's a wild ride, and honestly, it's a bit of a mirror for anyone dating in the digital age.
Let's start with the surface level, because in this show, the surface is the point. The whole aesthetic is incredibly specific.
Right. So the series is directed by Bas Kuno, and if you're familiar with Thai drama at all, that name carries a lot of weight. He's the visionary behind I Told Sunset About You.
Which is legendary for being visually stunning. I mean, the way that man films a sunset can make you cry.
Exactly. And he has this signature style, critics call it documentary style cinematography. He doesn't use that glossy, oversaturated filter you see in a lot of romances.
No, it's very raw.
It's raw. He relies on natural lighting, long silences, and these wide shots that make the characters feel really small in the city.
Yeah.
It captures the energy of Siam Square, which is the pop culture heartbeat of Bangkok, but makes it feel gritty and real, not like a tourism ad.
And right in the middle of this gritty city is the central metaphor, the gel nails. The show is literally named after a nickname one character gives another. But I have to ask, why nails? Why not a coffee shop or a basketball court? It feels like such a deliberate pivot.
This is where the show gets so smart about gender and space. Think about traditional media, focused on young men. Where do they bond?
Usually sports fields, gaming cafes, maybe a locker room. Masculine-coded spaces where you're doing an activity side by side, not necessarily face-to-face.
Exactly. Gelboys just subverts that entirely. The nail date functions as this third space for intimacy. It's a space where you're physically vulnerable, someone is literally holding your hand, caring for you, but it's not inherently sexual.
And it requires stillness. You can't really be on your phone. You can't just run away.
And it takes time.
A long time. I went with my sister once. We were there for like 2 hours. You can't rush gel nails.
That's the key. The process of the manicure mirrors the whole relationship arc. It takes patience to build, layer by layer. Base coat, color, top coat, curing under the light. And the result is highly aesthetic. Right. It looks perfect on the surface.
Right.
But, and this is the core theme, that layer is artificial. It's a hard, shiny shell painted over the reality of the natural nail, which might be brittle or damaged underneath.
That is a fantastic metaphor.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
literally polishing over the cracks in a relationship. Which brings us to the central conflict, because these characters are definitely hiding some cracks.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the situationship.
A term that, frankly, defines a generation of dating.
For anyone listening who might have been happily married since 2010 and missed this horror, or just got lucky, how are we defining a situationship?
It's the purgatory of dating. You're more than friends, you're intimate, maybe you're even exclusive in practice, but you are not defined. There's no label. You're just in limbo.
So you're doing everything a couple does, but if you ask, what are we, you get accused of ruining the vibe.
Exactly. And Gelboys weaponizes this limbo. It makes it the villain of the story, specifically through breadcrumbing.
Okay, what's that?
It's when someone gives you just enough digital attention, a like, a comment, a late-night miss you text, to keep you hooked, but never enough for a full meal. You're starving, but you stay at the table because every now and then you get a crumb.
That sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
And the show illustrates this through our two main characters. We have FourMod, our protagonist, and Chian, the love interest. Let's break down FourMod first.
Okay, so FourMod is played by Nu Chayapak Tunpriyun, and in his profile, he's flagged as having an anxious attachment style.
Okay, unpack that. What does anxious attachment look like for a teenager wandering around Siam Square?
FourMod is the classic hopeless romantic, but with this side of desperation. He's a high schooler, he meets Chian at a train station and just falls for him, instantly. But because of that anxious attachment, he craves constant validation. He doesn't just want the relationship, he needs the assurance of it to feel safe.
So he's the one analyzing every single text message for hidden meaning. Why did he use this emoji? Why did he wait 20 minutes to reply? That guy.
Precisely. He overinterprets everything. When Chian invites him for a nail date, FourMod sees it as a romantic promise. He thinks he's holding my hand, he's choosing my color, he must love me. He just ignores all the red flags because the crumbs feel so good.
And then there's Chian, played by Piedmont Thapum. He's the cool gel nails guy. But underneath that, his profile is fearful avoidant.
Chian is fascinating because he treats people like he treats his Instagram feed.
What, as a curated aesthetic?
That's it, exactly. It's a defense mechanism. Avoidant types are often terrified of true intimacy because it means they can be hurt or controlled. So Chian manages multiple talking stages at once. He gets the intimacy he needs, the vibe, the hand-holding, the shared music, but he refuses to give any of it a title.
So if he labels it, it's real. If it's just a vibe, he can detach whenever he wants without feeling guilty.
He weaponizes ambiguity. And the conflict just explodes when FourMod realizes the scale of it. He discovers that Chian isn't just seeing him. Chian is taking Bua, a famous TikToker, to the exact same salon for the exact same dates.
That is the most brutal part. It's not just cheating, it's recycling. It makes the intimacy feel mass-produced. FourMod realizes he's just a backup. He's inventory.
And that realization just shatters the whole romance genre convention. Usually this is where the protagonist cries, runs away, and the love interest has to do a big chase and apologize. But here, the show shifts into psychological warfare.
Before we get to the war, which gets really messy, I want to talk about the weapons they use. Because this show gets the digital aspect of dating right, in a way most shows just don't. The technology isn't just a prop, it's the dialogue.
Yeah, the critics loved this. In Gelboys, you don't need a monologue to know how a character feels. You just have to see their phone screen.
Talk to me about that airdrop scene in episode 1. It felt so specific.
It's brilliant. Chian accidentally airdrops a photo to FourMod while they're in the same area. It gives him plausible deniability. Oops, clicked the wrong person. But it initiates contact. It's a low-risk, high-reward move.
It's cowardly but effective.
It is. And then there's the music. The jam sessions on Spotify. The shared earbud scene is a classic trope, right? But here it's updated. Sharing a live playlist is a shortcut to intimacy. It says, "This is my soul," without having to use words.
But the flip side is the surveillance,
Yeah.
the anxiety of being left on read. The show captures that specific stomach drop feeling when you see someone active on Instagram, but they haven't replied to your text.
Oh, yeah. It just validates the idea that modern tech makes the gray areas of relationships high definition. In the past, if someone was ignoring you, you just didn't hear from them. Now you can see them online. You can see them watching your stories. You can see the breadcrumbs in real time. It just amplifies the anxiety.
So FourMod sees the breadcrumbs. He realizes Chian is playing him and Bua against each other. And instead of walking away like a healthy, well-adjusted person,
He chooses chaos.
he chooses revenge dating.
This is a crucial pivot point for the show's morality. FourMod decides to beat Chian at his own game. He recruits his best friend, Babin, to pretend to be his boyfriend.
So is the fake dating trope, but usually that's for comedy or to make an ex jealous in a cute way. This feels darker.
It is darker. FourMod and Babin stage their own gel nail dates. They post photos specifically mimicking Chian's aesthetic. Oh, look at us, having a nail date too. They're weaponizing the very aesthetic that FourMod fell in love with.
It's totally performative.
It's vengeful. And this is where FourMod, our victim, becomes the antagonist. He starts using people, specifically his best friend, as collateral damage in a power game. He thinks he's regaining control, but he's just perpetuating the same toxic cycle Chian started.
He becomes the thing he hates.
He really does.
Which brings us to the people caught in the crossfire. We need to talk about the unsung heroes of this show, Babin and Bua. Because while the main couple is being toxic, these two are quietly having the most interesting arcs.
I would argue Babin and Bua are the heart of the show. If you want to see a healthy growth, you look at them. So let's look at Babin first, played by PJ Mahidol Peoplesongger.
He's the best friend character, right? Loves Blackpink, obsessed with Lisa, seems like the comic relief at first.
But psychologically, he represents the secure attachment style in the sea of insecurity. Initially, he totally fits that pining best friend trope. We know he secretly loves FourMod. And he agrees to the fake dating scheme because, well, he wants to be close to the person he loves.
Which is heartbreaking. He's accepting the scraps FourMod throws him. He's basically volunteering to be breadcrumbed.
Until he stops. And this is the subversion. Usually, the pining best friend suffers in silence until the end. But Babin has this realization. He sees that pretending to date FourMod is hurting him more than it's helping. He realizes he's being used as a prop.
I love that moment for him. He refuses to be the backup plan. He basically says, I love you, but I love myself more.
It's such a powerful moment of self-worth, and it forces you, the audience, to look at FourMod and say, hey, you're being a jerk. And interestingly, Babin finds connection with the most unlikely person, Bua.
Bua, played by Leon Zek. At the start, we are primed to hate Bua. He's the other guy, the rival, the famous TikToker.
He's presented as the influencer. He's a lip-curring half-Thai. His psychological profile is performative validation. He hides all his insecurities behind this perfect, curated online persona.
He looks perfect, so everyone just assumes his life is perfect. But then we peel back the layers and realize he's in the same boat as FourMod.
Exactly. The audience thinks he's the competition, but he's actually another victim. Chian is doing the same breadcrumbing routine to him, treating him like a trophy to be displayed, not a person.
And when Bua and Babin realize this, that shared trauma bonds them.
It does. They bond over being the other choices. And in doing so, they drop their masks. Bua drops the influencer act. He stops performing for the camera. And Babin drops the servitude. He stops performing for FourMod.
That's surprisingly wholesome. You have the two rejects realizing they're actually the healthiest people in the room.
And that leads us to the finale, episode 7, which was, let's just say it was polarizing.
Oh, I bet. Let's break down the ending. Because if viewers were expecting some standard run-through-the-airport romantic climax, they did not get it.
No. Let's look at the success story first. Babin and Bua.
They become the official couple.
They do. And fans loved this because it felt earned. They move from digital masks, TikToks, and fake dating to a real connection. The show ends with them doing TikTok challenges together, but the context has changed. It's supportive, it's fun, they're a team.
It's a great example of two people actually choosing each other, not just settling. But then we have FourMod and Chian, the toxic tango.
This is where the show takes a firm stand against the typical rom-com formula. In a normal movie, Chian would make a grand gesture, apologize, and they'd kiss and be boyfriends.
Right. Love conquers all, even toxic behavior. But here, they don't become boyfriends.
No. The outcome is much more ambiguous. Chian finally admits to his fear of commitment. He admits he's been avoiding vulnerability. That's a huge step for him. But FourMod has grown too. He sets a boundary. He says, I won't be a backup.
So what do? They just break up?
Not quite. They agree to a real talking stage.
A real talking stage? That sounds like an oxymoron.
It sounds frustrating, but it's actually the healthiest thing they could do. They agree to focus exclusively on each other to try and fix their trust first. No labels yet, but no other people. No breadcrumbing, just honesty.
That is so frustratingly realistic.
It is, and that's the expert insight here. The show rebukes the idea that a grand gesture fixes toxic behavior. It says real intimacy requires honesty and time, not just vibes or a cool aesthetic. You can't just airdrop an apology and expect everything to be fixed.
So how did the world react to this? Because messy can be a hard sell for an audience that just wants escapism.
Critics generally praised the messiness. They really appreciated that it normalized feminine men, the femboy aesthetic, without making it a punchline. The characters are stylish, they get their nails done, and it's just treated as completely normal.
And the cinematography, the whole nail salon aesthetic, was universally loved.
However, the audience response was split. Some fans really hated the toxicity. The manipulation in the middle episode, specifically FourMod using Babin, was hard for people to watch. They just felt the characters were bad people.
Which, fair. They were kind of being bad people, but isn't that the definition of being a teenager?
Precisely. It's a coming-of-age story. Teenagers are messy. They don't have the emotional tools yet. If everyone acted perfectly, there'd be no story.
So let's wrap this up. Gelboys. It's a show about nails, but it's really a show about the anxiety of Gen Z love.
It captures that specific feeling where a relationship status is defined by a Spotify playlist or an airdrop name, where situationships are the norm because everyone is terrified of closing off their options.
It shows the transition from these performative personas, trying to look cool, trying to look unbothered, to authentic, messy human connection.
And it posits that the only way out of situationship hell is communication. Uncomfortable, non-digital, face-to-face communication.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. Gelboys suggests that in a world of infinite digital options where you can swipe, scroll, and airdrop your way through romance, the most radical romantic act might simply be clear, honest communication.
It raises a big question. Does modern technology actually make it harder to define what we are to each other? Or does it just make the gray areas that have always existed undeniable?
It's a question worth asking the next time you leave someone on read. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. It really helps the channel grow. See you in the next one.